I see people gathering. How are you doing, Daniel?
I'm doing good already.
Good. Good. Good to hear. Good to hear you. Good to hear your voice. How are things on that side of the world?
Pretty good. Pretty cold today. Normally it was like very hot, but today is the first day that it's really cold, which is a welcome change.
Yeah, it was really hot there. In Poland, I guess they have crazy weather too. So we know all about the different economies, which we're about to talk about here in the different countries. And now we
Right.
have crazy weather happening in all the different countries.
We
Um,
also have stock market turbulences here in America for the last couple of weeks.
oh,
The
okay.
stock market is going down pretty bad.
Yeah, a lot of things going on. Well, we'll let more people start gathering. We're right on time now, so we'll let a few more minutes pass so people
Okay.
can join. Um, yeah, I guess in Poland today, I was talking to Bartek, our operations director. There was hail. It was like very hot, but then they had
Oh
hail.
wow.
So
Summertime they can have that. Yeah, it's pretty unusual. But I remember in Poland, hail's as big as like a chicken eggs almost, huge chunks of ice coming down from the sky.
wow. Oh, it was just strange that it was really hot. I can't remember how much Magda, our designer, said, but it was I want to say she said around 30 degrees, but this was really hot for Poland.
It was actually hotter here. 2 days ago was over 100
Yeah,
here
but
in
it's normal
California.
where you are.
It's yeah.
That's how it is here too
Poland
in
is
Israel. It's
Poland
hanging
is
around
normally
30
cool.
degrees now. So it was odd that they had Bartek sent me a video of hail, and then Magda said it's really hot, and in our office it was really heating up because we have big windows in our, and it's all the sun really just heats up that building.
I hope it's not the end of the world.
I think we're good for now, although it's crazy times. Okay, so we're a few minutes past time. I think we gave time for people to join and get their coffee or Coke, whatever they drink, and sit down to talk with us about economic issues that we've had developing Sagger in Poland and Israel and other places in the world, but especially Poland and Israel, and Daniel's unique experience running business in socialist Poland, free market, and now in Israel. So last time we talked about just comparing in general our business experience in Poland and Israel. And Daniel talked about the long lines and inefficiencies that he remembered from socialist Poland growing up. Daniel also told us a funny story about the pencils that were dropped in the bay.
Yes.
A classic example of inefficiency. So that was pretty funny. And
It's it's
go
more than
ahead.
an inefficiency. It's borderline insanity when you make pencils and then you dump them in the ocean just because you are not interested in selling them. You just manufacture them because the government mandates, not
Yeah.
because the market needs it. It's crazy.
Right. It reminds me of Thomas Sowell's quote where he says, it's hard to imagine a more stupid or dangerous way of making decisions than by putting those decisions in the hands of people who pay no price for being wrong. So in that instance, the people who are making the decisions about the pencils paid no price that there was no pencils. So they were just
Now,
dumped in the ocean.
now imagine that people that manage to dump pencils in the ocean are running the whole country and they are responsible for all aspects of running the country. It's called command economy. And a couple of fat cats at the top are are living it up, and they have no idea about the economic issues, and they run the country. That creates tremendous inefficiencies, shortages of everything. There was like everything was missing in communist Poland. I remember there was a big scandal that kind of involved Poland and Russia, that Poland was contracted to send meat to Russia, and they were sending to Russia, to Soviet Union, instead of meat in wagons, that train wagons full of ice and meat, they were just putting ice only, and there was no meat at all. And that was a scam. Basically, people that were perpetrating it on Polish side were selling the meat on the black market, which I can understand. What I cannot understand is that this thing was going on for several years, and the guys in Russia never figured it out. So for years they were getting trains with just ice, no meat, and they never caught on to this
Well, it's probably
because
they don't care to know. The people unloading the trains don't care. That no one has any incentive in a system like that to make things
correct.
work efficient. So probably people
So
knew what was
that's
going on, but who cares?
maybe some couple of people were paid off on the Russian side. I don't know, but generally, it just shows how crazy, inefficient, and mismanaged the place was, Poland and Russia. That Russians never figured out that they were being shorted completely. There was just no meat coming in. And the thing came out not because Russians complained that they didn't get any meat, but somebody snitched on them. Somebody got upset over the deal. Maybe they didn't get enough money. And they reported it to the Polish police, and all the perpetrators were arrested. And the penalty was very harsh. People that were running the scam, actually, one of them got death penalty. So they executed the main guy. And some other people got life and some. It's called, it's known today as a meat scandal in Poland. But it just shows the terrible inefficiencies that you had. Uh, in that venue, actually, I remember a joke that kind of builds on those inefficiencies, shortages of food, especially meat in Poland itself. If you went to the official government-run store, meat store, there was typically no meat. So joke goes that there was a word spread around the neighborhood that next day in the morning there will be meat in the store, delivered to the store from the meat central warehouse. People started gathering in the evening, like at 7, 8 p.m. the day before, and they were lining up to get the meat. But around 10 o'clock, the store manager comes out and he says, well, we just got a call from the warehouse. There'll be a little bit less meat coming than expected. So therefore, we order that all the Jews lining up leave the line because there'll be no meat for them. So all those Polish Jews that were in line left. And then around midnight, same manager comes out. He says, well, another phone call. There'll be still less meat than we expected. All the young men leave. And so on. Around 2 o'clock, he comes out again that there's still less meat. So all men have to leave. And in the morning, at 8 o'clock, when the meat was supposed to show up, and people really tired waiting all night in line, he comes out, he says, unfortunately, there's a phone call from the warehouse. There'll be no meat. And people say, God damn it, we waited all night, really tired here, like 10 hours in this line here. And then somebody turns over and says, well, you know what? And those Jews always come out ahead. They didn't have to wait all night to find that there'll be no meat. So this is the kind of jokes people were telling in Poland to emphasize and illustrate the lack of everything. I mean, meat, food, anything was lacking.
Those are really extreme cases of a similar thing that we're discovering in Israel, unfortunately. And I want to say again, like I said last time, disclaimer: we are in no way trying to bash Israel. We run business here, but it's very, very difficult. We're very upset by a lot of the red tape that we run into here. And we can especially see the difference when we compare now with Poland, which is not at all like what Daniel's describing back when it was socialist. It's a very free market. It's easy to run business. Ease of doing business is great. In Israel, unfortunately, it's quite the opposite. Very cumbersome, very difficult. Right now, we're trying to import 2,000 of our model tanks that come with our gift box. You guys can check it out on our website at Sagger.com. Really cool little tanks that come with our gift box. And we've had to go through just even ridiculous hoops they still aren't released. They asked for our director to make a video of himself talking and send it to them. They claim that they call me several times, but I never get any calls from them. I'm always calling them. I don't know. I hope and pray we can get it released very soon. But as of now, it's looking like it's going to be about the same situation as we had with our toy tanks that we're importing through the airport, which took us several months, and it was almost not worth it to release them. So we can make and then like we said last time, we can make a comparison with Poland because we did the exact same thing. We imported toy tanks into Poland, and they arrived at the office no problem, no questions asked, as it should. So that's our situation now with the business. Another funny thing is I spoke with Daniel a few weeks ago. I don't know if you remember this, Daniel, but we're planning on releasing a video soon about the oil embargo in 1973, which was brought on by the Yom Kippur War. So stay tuned. You guys can check. That's going to be a cool video about the oil embargo. Those of you who are around back in 73 in America can attest to the long lines at the gas stations. And I asked Daniel about that because he was actually in the United States that year. I said, "Hey, do you remember those long lines at the gas stations? Everyone lining up for fuel. There were shortages. People were riding on bikes." And Daniel says, "Well, I didn't really faze me because I came from socialist Poland. I was used to lines. Everyone lined up for everything." So I thought that was funny. And that really shows you how he was just so used to these lines. And for Americans, like my parents, they thought that was crazy. Like, oh yeah, 73, that was awful. I had to wait in line for so long to get gas. But Daniel from Poland thought it was normal, right, Daniel?
Yeah, this was no surprise to me. I didn't see why there was this hoopla about these lines, because in Poland there were lines for everything. Toilet paper, light bulbs, food, anything you wanted to buy, there was big lines. And here Americans were falling apart over just some lines over the gasoline. So to me, this was excessive, totally unreasonable complaint.
We're used to things being more efficient. And luckily now in Poland, things are very efficient. And I wish that for Israel, we can get to that point too and cut some of this red tape out. So my final message before we end the live is Israelis, the fact that the market is not doing what we wish it would do is not a reason to assume that the government can do better. So don't elect officials that are going to add more tape and try to run things because they don't know any better. We've seen what that does. Let's cut some of this red tape and make things more efficient like Poland did.
Absolutely. Poland is the best example that it works, it can be done, and you can move from socialist command economy to a normal open market, free economy, and it works way, way better for everybody.
It doesn't just work better, it gives everyone a higher standard of living in the end.
Yeah, it only is detrimental to a couple of fat cats at the top. But other than that, everybody comes out ahead.
Yep. Well, thanks, Daniel, for joining us. And thank you, everyone who joined us live. And we look forward to seeing you next week on another episode of our experiences running business in Israel and Poland. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and see you guys next time.
Thank you very much. Bye.